All right, so right now I'm doing my vegetables for my gumbo. And what I want to do is I want to have about an inch size pieces of my vegetables, okay? It's very important. So right now I got the fire going on my skillet. I got my bouillon boiling and I have my roux made, okay? So what I want to do is I want to get my vegetables going in the saute pan as quick as possible. Okay. Now, sometimes when you're in the, sometimes chefs will say, "Don't worry about your cut." When you're not, when you're cutting vegetables, don't be precise and this and that, because just going into a stew and it's going to change its appearance. But me, I take my time with it. I definitely feel like you have to be uniform. Uniformity is key when you're doing vegetables, especially with gumbo, because you might not think about it at the time, but when you go to get that spoonful of gumbo, you want to make sure that it looks delicious in your spoon and appealing to the eye. All right, so this is the quick way that I clean my green peppers. I try to get all of the white out of it. Okay, I call it impurities. I try to get all the impurities because that white is bitter. Okay, it's bitter. That's just the way it is, and that's just the more you know. Okay, so I'm trying not to waste any of this pepper. Okay, so I'm leaving the tops and the bottoms up there. I'll deal with them in a minute. Rolling it open, okay, like a fillet. Getting the impurities. See, that was a clean cut, not too many left. Okay, I got my celery pepper, I got my onions ready to go. Always make your onions the last thing you cut because they're going to take on the flavor of the cutting board. Okay, so I'm going to go about here, about an inch. Okay, there's my celery. All right, and I want to go ahead and throw that in the skillet because it's harder. Okay, I want to go ahead and get them softening down. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get them softening down. Now I'm going to work on my peppers. Okay, cut them into strips. And once you cut them into strips, put them together in a pile and just give them a couple good chops. Okay. And remember, you want bite-sized pieces. Okay, but gumbo, you want to see that medley of vegetables. You want to see the chunks. Okay, this ain't the time to be cutting small, and so the kids don't know they're chewing peppers and onions. Because that's one of my methods in cooking. I cook small in a mince, so that way I can input the flavors that I want in food, and my kids don't complain like, "Oh, I don't want there's onions in it." So I usually cook it so they don't see it. But here, you got to make them big and bold. And that's exactly why this is a New Orleans treat. It's not only a mixture of things in the one pot as a way to eat on the budget and to showcase all of the flavors that have made New Orleans and Cajun and Creole cooking what it is, which includes the holy trinity of green peppers, equal parts green peppers, celery, and onion. That's your holy trinity that's found in any Cajun or Creole dish. That's your beginning basis, whether it's chunks like this or puree to make a Creole sauce. Your holy trinity is found everywhere, okay? And the next thing I do, once I get my vegetable sauteing, is I'm gonna make a spice rub, okay? And that's another story. Okay. So these, as I told you, these are just the heads and the tops and the bottoms, okay? Everything has a place. Just give it a rough chop, okay? Nice rough chop. Nothing to prove here. you give it a rough chop one way, switch directions, rough chop the other way. Okay? And you're going to saute all this down. Once again, it doesn't got to be uniform or anything like that. It's going to be chopped down, and I've already got my celery going. And as you can see, I got my fire going. It's going nice. I'm going to kick my fire up just a little bit, and I'm going to add my peppers. Now, actually, I'm going to chop my sausage before I chop my onions. Now, the only reason I can chop meat before I chop a vegetable here is because all these things are going into the same pot, and this is a processed cooked meat. It's not a raw meat. It's not a chicken. It's not a seafood. So I do not mind putting this on the cutting board before I cut my onions, especially at home. You know, at a job site or for a catering event, I would not dare even put meat on the same cutting board, not even on a green cutting board. In fact, these are for vegetables. Green is for vegetables. So I would most certainly not cut this, but this is a fully cooked Cajun andouille meat, andouille sausage, and this is a homemade gumbo. And I'm gonna cut it at a bias. Okay, see that? Give it a nice cut at an angle. You want it to be appealing to the eye. Okay, nice big chunks. Okay. Okay, nice big chunks. Cut them at a bias. Always keep an eye on your vegetables, your saute. You don't want to leave any oil unattended. Okay? You don't want to do that, but I am right here on top of it. Once again, this is Cajun andouille sausage. Okay? Cut it at a bias. About 6 chops. You want to flip that, cut them down to half, cut them down the middle, and then you want to flip them to be facing, the curves facing the same way. Okay, so you can cut them simultaneously. Okay, and there you go. Nice, beautiful cuts right there. Now we're going to work on our onions. Quick onion cut them down the middle. Okay, I'm going to get the 2 cuts down, long ways.